Enneagram 5. Welcome to 9 in 9, a podcast about Enneagram wisdom in 9 minutes or less for your life. Our series right now is Love Me True, how to love the people in our life really well. This is 9 in 9, Enneagram wisdom for life. I'm Jen Stanley. Let's dive in. As an Enneagram 5, I know that you are anxious to have more information, to find the patterns in your relationships that make them effective and good. I know you're anxious to collect data on how to do relationships well. You'll get all of that in this episode. But I also want to invite you to relax and let your emotions feel what comes up as we talk about the people in our life whom we love and how to love well. In these episodes, we are focused on figuring out where disconnect happens in our relationships, especially using what we know about the Enneagram. And so for an Enneagram 5, we want to start with what the primary center of intelligence is, and that would be the thinking, the brain, the thought center. This simply means that 5s think really well. 5s are intelligent and smart and use good logic and reason to find solutions to things. Now, this is a really good tool to have. However, if you as a thinking dominant number are paired with or partnered to somebody that is potentially an emotionally centered person, it can come across a little cold and a little bit like a lack of feeling if you're partnered with somebody who's very strong in emotion. So it's definitely something to be aware of. Your thinking is strong and it needs supported in relationship with a little heightened sense of emotion as well. Now, as far as the repressed center of intelligence, so this just simply means the center of intelligence that isn't as natural for an Enneagram 5, that's going to be the doing center. And just like we've talked about in other episodes, if you are doing repressed and you're partnered with somebody who is potentially doing dominant, this energy difference can cause some disconnect. And so it's important to be mindful of this and to be really good about communicating as a 5 what you will do and how you'll follow through on that, how much energy and capacity you have to do a particular task. The time orientation of a 5 is past-centered, so we want to be careful about comparing everything in the present to what we know and feel comfortable with from the past. And the bid for connection from a 5 wants to never be a burden. And so in the 5, we find a strong need for independence, and this is because of that need to not feel like a burden. And so to remember that this is the 5's deepest desire, this is what sometimes they'll be bidding for, that connection of kind of that subliminal, am I a burden to you? Am I too needy for you? If it gets to that point, you just want to make sure that you can assure them that their needs are not a burden, their questions are not a burden, they themselves are not a burden. Some general expectations that a 5 might have in a relationship is to try and figure out those patterns for what works. And so really taking that analytical side, even when looking at important relationships, and really trying to figure it out. 5s also long to have good conversation, deep conversation, thoughtful conversation with the people in their life that are important to them. And finally, as a 5, the expectation would be that any kind of conflict or disconnect would be looked at with a lot of objectivity and a lot of reason. Okay, Enneagram 5, if I had a heart to give you for the people in your life, it would have on it, enter in. And here's what I mean by that. We want to make sure as an Enneagram 5 that you enter in to the emotions of the other person. So whether this is a friend, a partner, a spouse, a child even, it's really important that you allow emotion to also be a part of the analyzing and the doing relationship well. So make sure you allow emotion to come into that equation, and that you really try to acknowledge and have empathy for the emotion of the other person. The second way to enter in is to enter into what interests the other person in your life. So you probably have a lot of interests of your own, and I hope that the people who love you are interested in those things, at least to some degree, with you. But one thing that will build connection with the people you love is if you become interested in what they are interested in. And I know that as a 5, you're always down to learn something new. So ask the other person, what are you interested in? And then learn a little bit about that so that you can share that world. My final way that you can love others well is to have an energy plan. Now, this is something you're probably already doing naturally because you do this naturally every single day. You kind of know how much energy you have and what things will require of you and how you're going to kind of get through the day. If you are in a relationship with another person, that energy needs to be accounted for. So if you come home at the end of the workday and all of your energy's gone and you have nothing left to give the person you care for, that's not good. So how can you make an energy plan that also gives energy to the people in your life whom you love? And for those of us who love an Enneagram 5, here is what the heart would say. It would use the word gentleness. We need to be gentle with the 5 because they do need independence. They need time away from people. And so we want to be very gentle and we want to be very respectful of that. Here are 3 ways you can do it. Number 1, make sure that you give them the space they need when they need it. If they need time alone right when they get home from a long day, let them take that time and then invite them back in. It's important that we invite 5s to do things and not demand that a 5 does something. We have to remember that energy clock is always ticking down, and the only thing that will recharge it is time alone, time away from other people. And so we have to use our very, very best discretion on when to invite and to never demand. The second thing is to be patient with a 5 as you are getting to know them, or as you're maybe discussing an important topic. It might take 5 longer to open up to you than maybe any of the other numbers. And that's okay. We want to be very patient, ask questions, give them time to think before they come back to you. And here's a little tip with a 5 also is just avoid the word should. It just is a very stressful word for a 5, because when a 5 hears the word should, they hear energy. My energy is going to have to go to that now, and it's going to drain in a way that I wasn't expecting. And number 3, as much as you can reduce surprise with the Enneagram 5, the better. It's important that a 5 knows what to expect, even if it's something small. Really just reduce surprise as much as possible and let them in on the planning and what to expect. Enneagram 101, Authentically You, is a 6-week course where we come together as a group and we really dive deep into your Enneagram number. And what that does is it helps you not only know yourself and have confidence in who you truly are, but it really helps you communicate, understand, and have compassion and empathy for the people in your life.